All right, we're back. We are minus a Steve, sadly. He's got, home
And
life
Steve is
things.
minus a computer.
Yeah, he's still working on resolving that situation. Hopefully, it can be fixed soon. Being Sans box is pretty shitty.
Yeah,
But you got us, and we're here, and god damn, what a week it has been. It's always scary times. One small starting piece of good news: David Chipman, the notorious individual, one of the architects of Waco, who lied about the 50 calibers so that he would be presented with the opportunity to burn children alive, like he had always fantasized about, allegedly. He was
yeah.
finally able to burn some children alive, like he allegedly fantasized about all his life up until that point. So this psychopath that fantasized about murdering children and then did in fact do so, and then shortly thereafter stood in front of their bodies for press photos. It's looking like his nomination to the ATF is falling apart because not because of this, not because he murdered fucking innocent children and burned them alive, not because of that, but it seems he said some really racist shit at some point. So he's got to go, you know? But whatever, honk honk,
And
I'll
fucking
take it.
tastic.
I mean, if that's what it fucking takes to get this guy that literally burned children alive to not be the head of an organization that, works to protect the human rights of Americans, then, okay, whatever. It's kind of shitty, but I'll take it. Whatever. So, that's small victories, right? Small victories. So anyway, above and beyond that, we were talking about basically just what's going on right now, and Forbes. Well, I was wanting to talk about this, but it's gone now. The long and short is they put out I guess you might call it a header or a teaser. Maybe I don't know the journalism term,
Well,
but
it was it if it was the headline, then it's a headline or a byline.
well, it was a tweet to kind of frame it. So I don't even know what the hell you'd call that.
Oh, well, that's just propaganda then.
Yeah. Well, so the
Remember, not all propaganda is evil, corporate, or political. It used to be that companies would propagandize you to get their products. That was also called advertising.
yeah, marketing is literally propaganda with a different name.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah, truly.
Propaganda would be the umbrella term.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all just splitting hairs at that point. But anyway, the long
Yeah.
and short of their tweet was basically framing that now that we see the Delta variant can easily be spread by people that have been infected by it, whether you're vaccinated or not, which, well, we'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that in a second.
I can help clear some of this up, but keep going.
Yeah, because it requires some clarity. But the long and short of it was they've basically framed this whole thing as, well, what the fuck's the point of getting the vaccine in the first fucking place? What's the point of the vaccine
Yeah,
passports and IDs and all that? They do nothing. That was
this
their
dirty,
essential
dirty
framing, which
argument.
is, shall we say, immature at best.
Derped. That's what it is. It's fucking derped.
Yeah, but the easy result of what they had put out was basically, if you read it as said, it has since been deleted because it's really fucking stupid. But you could just read it as vaccination IDs and vaccine passports are utterly worthless and valueless. Which,
Now, here's the
that's.
thing. That part's true.
Oh, it is. It is.
To
Absolutely.
an like, actually rephrase this. When they say vaccine passport, they mean vaccine certification
Oh, sure.
For domestic use, not for international travel. In which case, yeah, that's true. The ICVP, which has been in use for basically a fucking century, that is useful because that's one of the reasons why the United States is so disease free in general. Like, huge, important piece of international policy is having borders and using them effectively. Like for things like preventing the spread of disease.
Speaking of borders and preventing the spread of disease, how about those virus bombs that are getting shipped all over the country these days?
Yeah, how about that? Don't mention those though.
Yeah, as a matter of.
So to provide clarity, on the vaccine and viral transmission thing. No vaccine will 100% stop transmission. Period. Ever. Herd immunity is established when there's roughly 3 hops for an individual infection inside the vaccinated population on average before it gets extinguished or quenched. That means that the transmission is decreased if you have a vaccine, and then eventually to the point where after about 3 hops, it just doesn't have enough gusto to get onto the next person. So, yeah, you're going to circulate disease among vaccinated people. Herd immunity is where you protect people by stopping the spread effectively. And what that does, more in practical terms, besides not get people sick, is, and aside from protecting people who can't get vaccinated or who do get vaccinated and don't retain immunity, the doubly fucked people, what it does is it slows down the circulation volume of virus such that the natural selection pressures are not capable of inducing mutation among viable hosts. The idea is to get ahead of natural selection, because what you do elsewise is naturally select the virus to multiply despite the vaccine. That's immune evading variants, the shit that we've bred in our population by not going for herd immunity, by politicizing the vaccine like a bunch of fucking morons. And if you look at vaccine hesitance, you see a giant scar from the anti-vax bullshit that the left was pushing last year. And then you see that compounded by the other end of the spectrum on the right coming in this year. So it's an all sides kind of thing. There are assholes everywhere.
Well, you literally had Kamala Harris saying that she wouldn't take the vaccine.
There's a slew of these dipshit Democrats just pumping out this propaganda ad nauseum, how they're all against the vaccine, and then as soon as Biden gets in office, the narrative flips so that they can all push and hail him as the savior of the country with the vaccine. It's disgusting. Yeah, I'm just glad they did this shit on Twitter and people had the mind to like screen cap it, or they were just dumb enough not to delete it, because at least now there's a fucking like paper trail, and this stuff can, you know, at the very least a fucking meme, you know, where it's juxtaposed, and you get whiplash from the transition from anti-vax nonsense to pro-vaccine gospel. It's inhuman. It's disgusting and inhuman. Like, I hope the check was worth it, because the country's suffering right now because there are enough lemmings out there that it broke herd immunity. Period. There's no way to get around that. Herd immunity so the vaccine is only going to work for the virus. Like, it's only guaranteed to work for the virus it was designed for, the original wild type virus. So when they say wild type, they mean the original Wuhan virus. After that, you have the variants, starting with alpha because reasons. So the vaccines were great for the wild type virus. They're fantastic for it. In fact, had everyone had the fucking vaccine when that was the only thing circulating, then that'd be the only thing we had to worry about, and it would have been gone. And then there's the UK variant, the South African variant, the California and New York variants. Those were all covered by the vaccine too. So we actually had plenty of time to get this thing under control in the United States, at least. But then we decided to fuck around for about 8 months after the vaccine showed up. And here we are, the Delta variant, which is immune evading. The immune evading variants evade your immunity, if you might not catch that. So herd immunity against the Delta variant is not going to happen with the fucking vaccines. And the politicians are freaking out right now because they've realized that they fucked it up.
Well, I mean, they're not freaking out that much. I mean, if we take a look at the jolly party Barry and Big Mike had over the weekend.
Yeah, but like New York City mandating vaccines and vaccine passports. And again, vaccine certifications.
Well, I mean,
California as a state is going to go down that road soon.
they were
You're
chomping
going
at
to
the
see
bit
the
to do that
domino
in the first
effect.
place, though. I mean, we have to be honest. They were just looking for an excuse.
Sure, but the reason why they're ramming it through right now is because they're going to try and use this as a way to blame everybody else for the problem that they helped create,
Oh, like usual.
which is like they broke herd immunity with their bullshit. And this isn't like a political spectrum thing at this point. Both sides playing party politics fucked this up categorically. Period. No way of getting around that. And trying to save face now, which is what they're trying to do. And here's the worst part: regardless of any valid points they may bring up, Governor Abbott of Texas is going to bring up the fact that the migrants are being let in over the border like a fucking flood of disease pests. He's right. That doesn't make him not the asshole for pushing a partisan divide.
Well, you can't really blame him for pushing that. That's something that's basically
I can't
just
blame him
there.
for reacting to Democrats, sure, but I can blame him for not saying, "Hey, look, at least giving some face to the let's come together messaging." He didn't even do that. At
Well,
least DeSantis, for the dumb shit that he's pulled, and he has pulled some dumb shit. He's been putting the right message out there, and he finally had the wherewithal after months of sparring with Biden to come out and say what he actually has been doing, which is the right message, and that is a mandate for none and availability for all.
oh no, that's fair. I
That's the right
certainly
way to
can't
do it.
disagree with that.
He should have been saying this shit the whole fucking year. Instead, we get him sparring with Biden. And I appreciate him telling Biden to fuck off to his face. I love that part. But the part after that should be, by the way, everybody go get your vaccine. It's available everywhere. If you can, if you want to. It's there. It's there for you. Here's just
Well, I mean, if I'm being honest, I'd say that
like,
he
come on.
seems like now if he goes with what
He's
he's
trying, but
begun,
like I get it, but
what he's just done, his last basic remarks regarding that when Biden was like, "Who?"
yeah,
and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm not
grief.
surprised he doesn't remember me. I mean, who else doesn't he remember?"
Right.
Like that's such a good note to end on. He could leave it at that and just be like, "Okay, so anyway, I'm probably going to be president in 2024, so let me fix Florida
Right.
first, and here's all the good shit we're going to do." Because if he leaves it at that, I mean, oh, what an own.
So like Democrats, I'll just put it like this: Democrats have come in with this anti-Trump rhetoric baggage that they've had last year, and they're trying to counter that this year, and they're failing miserably. And they're trying to blame everybody else, largely Republicans, and for some fucking stupid reason, Trump. But never for a party that shoots itself in the foot chronically to miss with another bullet. The Republicans, the way they're really fucking up right now, is being purely reactionary. All they're
Sure.
basically saying is, yeah, it wasn't us. And what they should be doing is turning around and saying, here's the good guidance. Here's what you can do. Here's what we know. Here are the facts on the ground. And then not charging out with more partisan bullshit. It's the same way, like right now, a card-carrying party-line Democrat on Twitter, one of the paid shills or grifters even, they're going to be coming down the line basically saying, here's all the great stuff about vaccines. Oh, and by the way, it's those Trumpers that are fucking it up for everyone.
Well,
Like that last little snipe at the end, is the dumbest part of it. If you want any kind of compliance, and I say this regularly, in a game of honey and vinegar, you've chosen salt. Like a whole fucking mine of it. Not like you as in you, but like Democrats. They've chosen salt. They're going to rub it in the wound and then bitch about it stinging.
well,
Like right now, we need to have
fair.
another round of vaccines to cover the Delta variant because that's now the dominant variant. It's immune evading and a large fraction. And here's all right. And one thing that people generally are going to be pointing to as a reason why the vaccine is ineffective, and it unfortunately shows that the vaccine is effective, although there's other things that come into play, other biases in the data. Is there's some data coming out of Israel about half the people that are getting sick right now are vaccinated in a population that's like at 90% vaccination or 90% vaccinated or 70 to 90% vaccinated. Like they are distinctly herd immune to the original virus and the variants covered under that. So again, South African, UK, California, New York variants.
Well, you
Like,
make a good point there, actually, and that is something that we might want to check back
but
in
like,
on later
it's actually
regarding
surprising.
Israel specifically,
It's
because
it's
we'll want to
surprising
see
that
what
more of
the
them.
outcomes are.
Right. It's surprising that more of them. It is surprising if the vaccine was not effective, you would expect a higher fraction of the people getting sick to be vaccinated than 50%. So it's just it is what it is. So that means there is some resistance to the virus still, and this is generally speaking still going to be true of variants that are close enough to the original that is vaccinated against. But so the way I explain it, actually, I explained this to my mom the other day. Think of it like this: a regular old household key in the United States got 5 or 6 pins in it, right? Give or take.
Okay, sure.
So just for sake of argument, agree with me on that.
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
So think of the thing that of the Y shape of an antibody. There's the open prongs. Those have the kind of teeth on them. Those are like pins on a lock. But they're connected like they are on a key down the line. They adhere to a pathogen via covalent bonding. That's achieved via reversible reactions. So think of them as being like sticky, but not like super glue sticky. They're like post-it note sticky.
Okay.
But you have like several thousand pins. So the way they work is they wrap around the structure that they're adhering to. And so if only one pin was sticking with a post-it note, that would be pretty weak. But if you have several thousand sticking, it's suddenly pretty strong as long as they all stick at the same time. And again, it's a reversible reaction, so some of them are not so sticky, some of them are more sticky, and that's a time-dependent phenomena as well. So on average, it's pretty sticky if it's in the right shape. But if you get some kinks to the surface that cause the teeth to be out of position, then suddenly you have like everything past that kink is not so sticky anymore. It might even be repelled. So the shape of the thing matters, and where the defects, where the mutations occur, where the changes in shape occur matter as to how effectively an antibody can stick. And so some stickiness is still good. So these variants that are like have some immune evading potential, maybe it's just that the antibody is not quite so sticky, and they're still sticking somewhat. So that's possible, but when you get far enough away, it becomes not so sticky to the point that it's not able to adhere long enough for a white blood cell to get it anymore. And that's when you lose immunity. So there is a gray area in there where you're going to see something like the situation you're seeing right now coming out of Israel, where you have a lot of people with the vaccine getting sick, but not as many as you might expect if it was completely ineffective. The reduced effectiveness of it is going to be a function of time and the distance from the original strain. So it's not so distant that it's completely ineffective yet, but it's getting there,
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, otherwise.
And then there's other
yeah.
factors that need to be acknowledged, though. For instance, the people who get vaccinated are probably, in general, at this point, more likely to be those who avoid situations or conditions in which they would get infected in the first place. And overall infections are down, but that's largely because they've returned back to mitigation strategies, absent vaccinations, so masks, distancing, etc.
Oh, well, for all the good they do.
Right, but again, there's other biases that come into it. But if you're gonna just off the raw, naive basis of vaccine, no vaccine, they are still somewhat effective. But if we're talking like significantly reduced effectiveness, and the next whatever comes out of Delta, there's Delta plus. It's so stupid the way they're doing the names. Just give me the fucking the protein number version instead. That was so much simpler because then you just have to figure out what fucking weird ass number is on the list instead of finding the Greek letter that is associated with it now.
Oh, speaking of Greek, yeah, they're going to be doing that. So there's a very good chance we could get an Andromeda strain.
Oh yes. You get your rum and alcohol and start chugging, man.
Good
Uh,
times. Good times.
you see, I actually liked that movie too, the one they made out of the book. Like
The
that
'70s
was
one?
the sci-fi one, the
I never
the
saw the
the
more recent one.
'70s one. The '70s one was all right. Like I liked it. The more recent one, they did so like you remember the guy who has epilepsy? Like they did a better job capturing his influence in the movie. The Asian guy that had the epilepsy and he was walking past the exit sign and freaked out in
Oh,
the
it's
book
been a
at
while.
least, if you might.
I have not actually read the book.
So okay, oh, you should read the book. It's good. Um, I'll say this: it's not as drastically different from the movie as say like Battlefield Earth,
Okay.
uh, which is like if you haven't read and watched Battlefield Earth, then you don't fully grasp how much they butchered the book. Like there's half the book is missing. It's just fucking missing.
Hmm. You don't say.
Well, yeah, everything after like they blew up Cyclo. Um, anyway, yeah, it would have been great to see that actor. What the hell is his name? Um, Barry Pepper, right? It would have been funny as hell to see him in the jumped up garb they decided to use in the book. It had like iridium buttons on a suit.
All right.
Just to make him look like super because Earth defeated Cyclo, an empire's. Um, it's like if out of nowhere Japan just like nuked London in the middle of their empire expansion.
Hmm.
Like out of nowhere, just boom, London gone. And then some random guy shows up in a samurai outfit made out of gold, turn around side to side, going, "Huh, that happened."
Huh.
It's more or less what humans did in the book. Is the Cyclos show back up, but they're like kind of they're not like, oh, we're gonna take out the planet in 9 minutes like we did the last time. They show up and they're kind of like, hey, about our home world. The fuck?
Hmm. Yeah, I actually haven't seen the movie or read the book, so I don't
Uh,
actually really
well,
quite know. Now I do.
so the actors are all good, except of course John Travolta, who's John Travolta,
Indeed, he is.
or John Revolta, as my parents have called him before, which I thought was funny.
That's fair.
I thought it was catchy. I didn't exactly see what they meant by his overacting until later, and then I realized that, yeah, I mean, Face Off, fantastic example. Anyway, or Swordfish, his acting in Swordfish towards the end.
Boy, that's been a
But yeah,
while.
anyway, so sidetracking aside there,
Indeed.
yeah, the herd immunity thing is just it is a disgusting failure of leadership across the board, and I gotta like a good solid half of that is squarely on Fauci's fucking shoulders from February last year,
Yeah,
completely failing to serve the American people in lieu of serving his fucking self. And then
and
before
still doing
that,
so, for that matter.
and still doing so. And before that, with tweaking the definition of gain of function internally to bypass the board of epidemiologists and physicians and researchers whose specific job was to evaluate the risk of gain of function research during the funding moratorium, so that the funding can still get doled out through EcoHealth Alliance to the Wuhan lab, the Wuhan Institute of Virology over in China.
By way of
Like
one Peter Daszak.
yeah, yeah. That guy, this Peter Daszak being the guy who was also the head of the WHO team, the USA selected head of the WHO investigative team that went into Wuhan, did diddly squat, and then wrote a report saying, "Yeah, it all looks fine here."
And just as a by the
They
by,
never.
a good close friend of Klaus Schwab. But that's neither here nor there.
This dickhead didn't set one foot on the campus of the labs
Oh,
before
most
he
certainly
just
not.
said didn't set a fucking foot in there. And this is, of course, after they wiped the data anyway. So there's not like
Oh
they would
yeah,
have been able to
this is
get in there.
well months later after they had what was this? Like just a few months ago, if
It
I'm
was
not
like
mistaken.
October when they. It was like October when they decided to wipe data, and
No,
there
no,
was
no. When they
news
finally
saying,
got in.
"Hey, they finally got in February or March of this year, right?"
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. It was like it was early this year before they
Yeah, it
even
was early
got in
this
there.
year when they got in. They should. And, I'm just amazed by now that WHO has decided that it's a virus, uh, and not some other pathogen. It could be racism. You never know.
Well, it probably is. It's probably internalized
Oh,
xenophobia.
and there's a paper that was released recently that was published, accepted in journal, and I think is published by now. But it is past review, so it's got to be published.
Go on.
Um, that it is definitive that this is an airborne virus now, an airborne respiratory disease.
Oh, you don't fucking say.
So here's the thing. This isn't like the we know it's airborne thing from last year, which was patently fucking obvious, even when the WHO was, fucking around trying to figure out whether or not it really loved the Chinese dollars or not. So there's large and small droplets, or there's large droplets and fine droplets. Fine is in quotes there. It just means small. The
Right.
break-even threshold, so the difference between them, large droplets are greater than 5 microns in diameter. Fine droplets are less than or equal to 5 micron.
That's
So
a
that
pretty large
that's
window.
that's about 50. 5 microns is about 50 times the pore size of so which is zero point 0.1 micron of a N95 mask. The virus is about zero point 0.3 micron. Oh no, I had those reversed. I'm sorry. The mask is it's anyway. Point being here, they're small droplets. They're about an order of magnitude larger than the pore size of an N95 mask. And for ASTM level 2 and level 3 masks, they would be repelled by the hydrophobic layer on the outside, and the filtration layers are on basically the same order of magnitude as the droplets. But there's a different mechanism for avoiding inhalation at that point. That's, I would say, better than N95 by itself. It's better hydrophobicity than just the standard plastic. Anyway, important thing here is that these fine droplets are better suspended in air. So the
Oh, that makes
large
sense.
droplets drop off at about 6 feet. So the whole 6 feet away from people. Remember I was saying that, yeah, like 6 to 20 feet is probably a better idea.
Right.
That's the kind of thing you need to think about. There is these smaller. So the other thing that they found is that the smaller droplets have the higher loading of the virus
Ah, conveniently enough.
because of course they do. Um, so those are the droplets that hang out in the air longer, can travel further before settling, um, and those are so because of this, 6 feet, like, so just wearing a mask and sitting shoulder to shoulder in a protest, not going to help you. In fact, I would say that if you wanted to call something a super spreader event, that's it. Um, Obama's birthday bash, which I think today was day 3, with Oprah for brunch.
Hmm. They had some
That
really
would be a
dank weed there, like some
that
really
would be
top
a
shelf
super
stuff.
spreader. Oh, so also, apparently there are all kinds of precautions that were being taken for that. Like you had to have a negative COVID test before you showed up. You had to be vaccinated for the most part, even though like about half the attendees were unvaccinated. But who cares? Who cares about details? You had to, have a normal temperature going in. I'm sure that was fine. Even though, mind you, that you can spread
Oh yeah,
under all these
asymptomatic spread is
circumstances.
entirely a thing.
Now, keep in mind what asymptomatic is not. Asymptomatic and pre-symptomatic can spread. Pre-symptomatic is coincident with asymptomatic up until a point where incubation period has completed. In which case, since they're not symptomatic, they are asymptomatic.
Right.
So asymptomatic means that you never had symptoms the entire course of the infection, the entire course of disease, no symptoms.
Meaning that that could very easily be any of a number of the. Mind you, it was meant to be 700 and it was scaled back. We're told that it's actually 6 to 700 as opposed to 700 or more.
Oh, I thought 700 was the scaled back number.
Oh, no, no. It was meant to be more 700 or more people, and it was scaled
Right.
back to 6 or 700.
Hmm.
You know,
I thought
just,
700 was the invitation cap.
it was.
Okay, so actually, it's funny. I had a conversation with Pixel Yanish on Twitter earlier. I don't know if you
I'm
see me
familiar.
conversing with Pixel on a yeah. So he's a great guy. Um, and we were actually talking about that topic specifically. I said, wouldn't it be great if if the backswing on this was they didn't allow anyone to leave the island.
That'd be
Like,
funny.
just you get there was a super spreader event, you're all under quarantine, nobody leaves, period. And then he had to come in at the end and say yes, and then it goes on for like 6 or 7 seasons, and then at the end they carpet bomb the island to prevent it from having to come back.
Oh, man. Don't tempt me with a good time like that.
Right, and just I think that's television, man. Just at the end of it, it's just like, look, you're going to be carpet bombed, but you have several seasons to become the one who survives. Survivor Obama Island edition.
I mean, I would break my no
That's
TV
some
rules,
top
and I
billing.
would actually watch that.
That's some top tier billing, isn't it?
Like that is cable television that I would consider riveting, and I might actually watch.
That's some HBO shit right there.
Oh, totally. I mean, that'd be bigger than Rome.
Okay, so
Maybe
we gotta have
maybe get a
something
Wayfair
that's
sponsorship in there. You know.
yeah, we gotta have something that's like not COVID related to sink our teeth into.
There's actually a fair bit. Let me just hop over here.
Oh, Cuomo is
Yeah, that's why.
continuing
That's the
to.
other thing. I was really wanting Steve to be here for that because, man, I know he
Uh,
would love to rip into Cuomo over this shit.
I will hopefully do him some justice here with
Yeah,
this because
Cuomo.
I feel for him so bad. He's being in that fucking state.
So the latest, which is, well, let me just throw something down that I had a feeling was there and is.
Oh
So
boy.
in the 2,700 pages of this quote unquote bipartisan
Holy
infrastructure
shit.
bill, there is a
Oh
per
yeah.
mile user fee on
That's
roads.
so great, isn't it? No. So here's the thing. It is the
It's a
requirement
trial
to.
program.
It's the requirement to provide funding to research the implementation of it. Meaning they're going to get a report at the end. They're probably going to try it out for like some segment of road or some cities. Basically, this is the prelude to the law happening nationally. A national driving tax.
Yep.
Or at least providing enough of a de facto basis for Democrat governors to dive in on it, and maybe skirt the need for a federal consensus if they can just fuck over half the states.
Which they are want to
Yeah,
do.
they want to balance the budget by fucking over everyone else's budget. It's a zero sum game in Democrat land, and you're the piggy bank.
As ever. As ever.
Yeah.
So that.
I mean, let's make it clear. Republicans are not a whole lot better. They just lie to you about it first. Yeah, we're for smaller government, and the budget just balloons.
Yeah, well, I had commented something on that just recently. You know, why is it that so many rhinos have to LARP as conservatives? You know, I mean, they could at least be honest. They've got a pretty big demographic out there of people that are like, hey, yeah, no, I don't actually really care about conserving anything. I just want to make money and don't really like Democrats. You know, there's a pretty big
Yeah,
there's a pretty big Democrat demographic like that too. But no, there's a pretty big demographic of that. So you know, I mean,
yeah.
they don't actually have to lie. They can just be like, yeah, no, we actually don't really like Republicans. We're basically like libertarians, except we want to be able to
Okay,
use foreigners as slave labor.
right. Where is that fucking meme? I have a fantastic Quilmer meme. Um, just to read it, to tell you what it says before I even find it, because nobody's listening is going to be able to see it until maybe later. It's smacking fannies and killing grannies, or the other way around. I can't remember which way.
There you go. That is real Cuomo hours. Real
Oh
Cuomo hours.
God,
Oh, I guess something else
this
that's
fucking sucky face.
completely unrelated to COVID. It
Uh-huh.
sounds like there's been some rumblings in the Chris Chanosphere.
Oh boy.
So there's our illustrious protagonist is jailed somewhere in and around Richmond, and they're
Uh-huh. And getting
apparently
conjugal visits already.
some good news to that has occurred since we last reported. It will. It appears our friend Chris Chan is not going to be going to the land of boyfriend-free girls. Our friend Chris
Ah,
Chan has been verified
he's
as
been demoted.
Chris on the booking papers, not Christine. So, unfortunately, gonna have to stick around with fellas, as it were. In that one update, and in the other, it seems that there are some very driven individuals that want to try and pin this whole thing that they've basically entirely been responsible for years on some girl at some Texas high school or Texas college, perhaps.
What?
Yeah, they're trying to say this girl. I cannot for the life of me remember her name. I remember that she's fairly cute and she's well endowed, and she's apparently being they're trying to Emmanuel Goldstein her here, basically. You know, like she's done all this. She's done all the bad in the world. She's even the one that convinced him to diddle his mom. Which,
Oh, hopefully she doesn't get Jeffrey Epstein done.
well, we are talking about a bunch of A-logs, so
Yeah.
I don't know if they've got the ability. She's probably going to end up getting a lot more pizzas than she ever really wanted, though. We can probably say that with some certainty.
So their end goal is just to make her fat. Okay.
Yeah, possibly, or maybe make sure that she has an
Fat and
adequate number of
poor.
dildos.
Oh, there it is. Killing grannies and smacking fannies.
There you go, classy.
There it is. That is just mwah, perfection in a
Ah,
meme.
glorious. Oh, he's got the shades and everything.
Yeah.
Nice.
Actually, that combo with Sucky is it's kind of primo right there. I like it.
So since we're kind of on the topic of this, why don't we dig into a little bit of Fauci and the WEF Daysac connection, because this is really, really big, and I don't know if enough people are giving it the airtime it deserves.
Oh, they took the database offline. I think we covered that
Yeah, we
last time,
did.
which is hilarious. I'm hoping that gets dumped soon. I hope in the
Oh,
meantime someone files that FOIA because that would be hilarious to see them after having it all dumped, having it all dumped out in front. They try to go, yeah, but we didn't know, even though we explicitly fucked things up just so that we could.
in a completely unrelated note, well, not completely unrelated, but
Uh,
unrelated to this term, something very, very interesting has happened with the ATF. There was a FOIA filed.
oh boy.
Let me find the exact thing. Basically, the standard operating procedure, the manual of the ATF, and how they have been handling shit in the background for a long time has finally come out via FOIA. It's just now being looked through. I believe this actually just came out either today or yesterday. So there's going to be a lot more on that, and I am going to be reporting more on it as it comes.
Oh yeah.
But we're going to see some very, very interesting things here, and we're going to probably see some things that conflict. Surprise, surprise.
Well, with public messaging, certainly.
Oh, undoubtedly. But there is going to be more on that, and I will be keeping everyone abreast of that as things develop because it's tremendously interesting.
Yep.
Ah, yeah, okay, I've got it. I'll have a link to the Ammo Land article on it right now. And also,
Okay.
after all these series of articles are out, they GOA is going to be releasing the full SOP, Firearms Enforcement Officer Initial Training thing, the whole
All
shebang.
right.
So we're going to have access to this, and we're going to be able to see just how
OGAO.
fucky it is.
That is excellent news. Oh, so speaking of excellent news, or at least news of excellence, Gwen Berry, the prima donna, was a hammer thrower, right?
Yeah.
I think that was what she was. Whatever the fuck it was she was doing, doesn't matter. The one who supposedly had some world record, who came in 11th out of 12 contenders at the Olympics. The one who is going to go to the gold stand and sing it on the mountain about how horrible the United States is. 11th out of 12.
Not quite performing at
11th.
the top level.
11th. Didn't place. The dumb bitch didn't place. Fuck her. I'm glad she lost. She wasn't representing the United States. She was representing herself.
Now, I will say I am very sad to see that one of my favored contenders was not able to make it, just wasn't up to the physical conditioning. So I believe it was a Miss Hubbard, or a Miss Hubbard, perhaps, a power lifter, if you will, just a stunning and brave lady that was really just smashing down barriers, with her mannish hands and enormous muscles. And I was really, really, rooting for Laurel. I was really hoping that she would do, really well and just crush the competition, with those enormous hands and gonads. And, just show those women that they are never going to be able to stand against the might of a real woman, And it's just sadly
a chemically enhanced woman, just the way nature intended.
Yeah, gonads and all. Just
a woman with a penchant for fishing. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Rod and tackle.
You know it. An all-around eater, meat and veg. You got your meat, you got your potatoes, the whole shebang.
She is Venus. Hear her roar.
That's absolutely right. Even a little bit of Aries and Mars in there too, because we want equity. Am I wrong?
Yeah. And I do feel bad for this one, because she was genuinely kind of one of the stars of the Rio Games. Simone Biles.
Yeah, and it actually seems like this one she really did kind of fall apart.
Well, here's the thing, yo. She was not the problem. It was the treatment of her as she was having difficulties that was, in my mind, disturbing. Patronizing, just lavishing her like she's a fucking hero for having a moment, she has to contend with the fact that she had 4 gold medals at the Rio Games. She might have already peaked. She hasn't lived even a fifth of her life, or let alone maybe even a sixth of her life yet, and she might have already peaked at her first kind of big life path, and so that was clearly hammering her hard, and then half the world's coming out going, yeah, you're the best for not competing.
Yeah, probably.
How awesome for you. And
probably not the best messaging all around.
The most patronizing. She had to be feeling horrible because of that.
Hey, good job, quitter. We're really proud of you for quitting. Good work.
Exactly. Her coach is way different from the previous Olympic coach, mind you, where she gets to do a hell of a lot of other stuff, kind of on her own. She's there because she wanted to be there. It was what she was doing. It was her thing. The passion hadn't been beaten out of her to make her a robot that got gold medals. she was there in Rio
And credit
winning
where
gold
it's
medals
due,
because it was what she wanted to
she
do.
had to deal with Larry Nasser.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that was really bad.
every human female of, oh, I don't know, puberty and below that had to deal with
Yeah,
Larry
yeah,
Nasser in a gymnastics sense pretty
that was really
much
bad.
walked away scarred. And
Well, so here's the thing: her trainer was competent as an adult in that situation and kept her from a lot of that. Not all of it, but a lot of it. Her
well,
trainer was like there to let her do. So the thing that made her different was that the other Olympic trainer, whatever the hell her name was, um, and she bowed out in 2015 when Simone was just before Simone went on to win 4 gold medals. Was it 2 silvers and a bronze, or no, a silver and a bronze? And she got 6 medals, I think it was, in the Rio Games. She did outstanding then, and patronizing her they did this time around, they might have just crippled her performance in the future. I'm hoping she comes back to the games next time around and just crushes it and gets golds everywhere. And then there's that wrestler. I don't remember what the fuck her name is. Um, she was awesome. The one who's just happy to be there and happy to be from the USA.
oh, the black chick in the red?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, she was lovely. Like that is exactly what you want from Olympian. And not have you heard what she's done with some of her winnings? She's actually started like
yeah,
a
yeah.
scholarship fund. It's like
That's awesome.
she is like the textbook American hero. You couldn't ask for better. Like
Yeah, it's I saw the Onion article where she gets her medal stripped away for for being proud for saying anything positive about the USA.
right? Yeah.
And then there was that woman, the shot put woman who was twerking, and then was it crossed her arms when she got her medal? I think it's silver.
Oh yeah, okay. I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, there it is. I have the picture. Hold on a second. I'll drop one of the pictures. There you go.
Yeah, I
Uh,
got you. And I'll
so
find
so
an
her
article or something for
in her
people.
case, like I kind of understand it in her case. Her mom like just died or is dying, I think. So like she's kind of under a whole different kind of pressure. Um, so like I basically that's one of those things like if when it comes to having like a parent or some that kind of figure in your life fading and having that kind of stress on top of you, like if you win a medal at the Olympics, that's one of those things where I'll basically forgive up and until like you know shouting lots of racial epithets on the stand. We'll say that.
I think it's a little far considering what all
I,
is
I think
intended with it, but I'll
well, I just like
whatever.
I can at least
I'm
like
not gonna watch.
that's the kind that's the kind of case where like I'll just kind of go yeah that happened whatever. You go take care of your clear mental problems and hopefully get over them and maybe come back and win a medal again.
Yeah, maybe maybe hate your homeland a little bit less next time.
Yeah,
Or maybe give that spot to somebody who wants to be there because it's the Olympics and not because they are whomever they might happen to be.
Raven Saunders, that was her name.
Mm. Oh, I've got a link to the BBC article that explains
And
her
this one's Simone
position on it
Biles.
for what it's worth.
I'll say this though, that the graphics that they've been using for the people who place, not bad, fairly snazzy.
Hmm.
I, in the light of lots of stupid shit that's been happening in the U.S., those glasses on Raven Saunders are particularly funny to me, given their resemblance to a certain complete dumbass who's managed to get the sunglass company to give him some lip.
And looks like some kind of Joker mask too. So, yeah.
So that's like the mask they have to wear in the field, I think, while they're competing.
Well, yeah, but
But yeah,
nonetheless, it's
I
got
do
its
see it.
own
I see the okay. I see that
customized look.
graphic. That does look like a Joker, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
So,
that's her thing.
oh, yeah, real Joker. Ha ha
Yeah,
ha 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 ha.
that explains the posture on the stand, huh?
Yeah. So, speaking of posturing, in
Okay.
2015, Apple was, posturing like strong,
Oh
like,
God, yeah.
fuck you, fuck you. You're not getting shit. Fuck you,
Oh,
feds.
yeah.
Fuck you, alphabet agencies. You're not getting shit. We don't care. He's dead. You're not getting it. Sorry. No, we're not breaking a phone. Not ever.
I'll have something to say about this that is semi-positive, and then I'm gonna completely reverse course on that and crush Apple for it.
Well, that was Apple
The
in 2015, and Apple
Yeah.
has recently released an update on some of their up and coming features. What they're going to be
On all
doing.
of all of their currently supported devices is what this will come out to.
Yeah, so they're going to be
All of
scanning
them.
scanning all of your media for any sort of, so they say as of now, child exploitation imagery. Which, of course,
Yeah.
when they
So let
came
me
for
say how
the.
that's going to work. As far to my understanding, this is the part where I'll be the pro Apple side for about 5 seconds here. Um, Supposedly they're not going to be scanning the media necessarily. They're going to be using a fingerprint that is partly comprised of a hash, among some other details about the images, say like their size, um, and maybe the color distribution, like size, color distribution, a hash of one variety or several. Basically, the idea is to do that, and then also to not necessarily flag an individual image, but um, multiple images that match whatever database they're reflecting against. So they would not be transmitting your. Well, see, the problem is you already transmit your data because it's all in the iCloud. But supposing that like they're not going to be looking at just the image itself, but they will also then have a human look at suspect matches that have matched kind of too many things. So now the flip side of this: who the fuck is going to get that job? Why are they not in jail for wanting to look at kitty diddling issues? And also, just what the fuck is Apple thinking here, violating your privacy so flagrantly, and going down this road, the entrance to the cul-de-sac of good intentions. Like what have they like? Every tech savvy person who likes Apple who liked Apple up till that point, they're all gone now. The walled garden is going to be scaled. Like there's no way to backtrack from this, to
Yeah,
backtrack from that
this.
announcement.
This is
When they made that
really,
announcement, it's done.
really big. This is like Google taking down their, "Don't be evil" sign.
Yeah,
Except
there's no
for
reason.
it's like if they took down the "Don't be evil" sign and then they just replaced it with like, I
Let's be
don't know,
evil.
like a
Or
cardboard
hey,
cutout of
evil's not
Himmler
so
or
bad.
something.
Evil's not so bad. That would have been the new slogan. That would really. That's kind of how they're trying to sell it at Apple. It's surveillance ain't that bad.
Like, hey, we're doing it, so it's okay.
Yeah. See, the whole fingerprint instead of image itself thing is supposed to make you feel good about it. Until and the way it works is if you do say use a multitude of hashes on something, they're supposed to have pretty much random vectors when it comes to the outputs. So the vector being the bit field of the output. So a SHA-256 having 256 bits, that's a vector because there are 256 directions to point, basically. Um, So the output vectors of these hash functions are supposed to be effectively random. They're supposed to point in different directions. Keep in mind that each bit is representative of like its own axis in a graph.
Sure.
So they're supposed to point in different directions randomly for a given sequential or even random inputs. That's the idea, is to have them effectively be random. So so that means that if you choose two different hash functions and you hash the same image, the composite of those two hash outputs should be effectively a more detailed hash. So if you use, say, there's a bunch of hashes that are like not so good these days, but like if you use a wide spread of hashes on a given data item, your specificity, your chance of collisions of two items, two different inputs having the same output, is way, way, way lower. To the point of being absurdly low, and you can guarantee you have a unique item.
Okay, so you're eliminating your false positives there.
Right. Yeah,
well, not necessarily false positives. You're eliminating your duplicates at least.
Well, false positives are going to be it's going to be think of like RSA 4096 back in like 2000. Like it's going to be very difficult to find two different, to find a match from a database that matches to a random picture of like you and your kid hanging out. Say you had your kid in a diaper hanging out next to you on the sofa. Your wife comes in, takes a picture of you two of you watching some game on TV, and it's like, oh, how cute. That's probably not going to be accidentally matched with I don't know, like say a bunny rabbit getting gang raped by 7 toddlers. Like, you're not going to see that kind of crossover, most likely. It's rare to the point where you need several billion Earths full of people doing their own thing to make it likely for that to happen. That said, they're probably going to swap over to AI at some point to make it more efficient.
Of course.
At which point, one, you have to have a training set, which is disgusting. I don't care if it was taken off of people who are criminals or what have you, and you just upload the hard drive without looking at the data on it, and let the AI figure it out from there. I don't care. It's still disgusting if that shit is being held anywhere. Like, the fact that a Leo can walk in of any variety, a law person of any variety can walk in and get access to that is just as bad as a person on the street getting access to that. In fact, I'd say more so, because it's much less likely that they're going to get caught. Not only viewing it, but potentially distributing it.
What a segue. Have you heard about what happened with Tony Navarrete? Certain Arizona Democratic state senator?
I heard something about something interesting happening in Arizona recently.
Well, Tony, he's got a little handful of felonies involving sexual contact with 2 teenagers.
He has proclivities, he does.
Yeah. So, Otoniel Navarrete is facing several felony counts because of these issues. He's looking at a minimum of 49 years. And at the moment, he's got a $50,000 bond.
Right.
And a number of other things.
That's it?
Let me drop you a link to the
50 grand, that's it? That's how much? The fuck is this? How the hell does he get, why isn't it more like 500,000?
Well, he's good for it. He's a Democrat representative. He's not... It's not
he's
like
gonna
he's
get
going to
the money anyway, but why not at least have the incentive, if he decides to run like a pussy, to get someone more, to get a team of people after him?
Well, to be fair, he ran more like...
Runs,
well, let's be honest. He didn't run like a pussy. He ran like a boy pussy.
If a guy like that runs, he should be dragged back, televised, kicking and screaming, and there should be the bond money to incentivize that treatment.
So basically, it sounds like we've got another season of Dog the Bounty Hunter in here, really.
Right.
And I mean, there would
Oh
be
God,
some.
no. What we need is to have Dog the Bounty Hunter as played by Cartman.
Uh, but just to give the brief bullet points on this, we've got three
Yeah.
counts of sexual conduct with a minor, one count of molestation with a child, all class 2
That
felonies.
one. That one right
Because
there.
oh
Oh.
well. Oh, wait, I'm not done. Because the victim was under the age of 15. So, the 2 counts of sexual conduct are class 6 felonies because they were 15 or older. And then there's a class 3 attempt. But, so we'll see how this goes. They argued for a $15,000 bond. But,
That's like
oh, of course,
just
there are
just
conditions.
fucking
He needs to stay away from children and have no contact from the victims and surrender his
yeah, but that was
passport.
what he needed to do beforehand.
But yeah,
Get the
so
man.
that's happened recently, and there's not
How
really
long
a
is it
lot
going
of
to take for him to get in jail? Or sorry, how long is it going to take to get him in court? Like 2 years?
might be a minute. But there was some interesting commentary on it. Let me read you
Yeah.
something from Julie Shumway. She's in the area, a reporter at large, if you will. Update: Phoenix Police Department comms director told me Senator Tony Neverett, Democrat Phoenix, was arrested on suspicion of molestations. We'll have more details once he's fully booked and charged. A further update then issued. Oh, okay. That was. Yeah, further issued the following morning. Something they don't teach you in journalism school is that you'll have sleepless nights whenever you have to write a potentially life-ruining story about somebody, no matter how confident you are that you reported only the available facts.
Okay. The available facts so far are that there is enough evidence to charge this person and to put them in jail and then to be put out on bond.
Yeah.
And
So,
more so, it's the kind of person who probably would do this shit. Yeah, it'll potentially ruin a life, but like you're
I
not the
don't.
story, are you?
That's half the problem,
Until
isn't
they
it?
say something dumb like that, yeah.
But that reminds me. I cannot for the life of me remember his name, but the fella that kept having black guys show up with their assholes absolutely reamed out and then overdosing, dead.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That guy, yeah, they finally arrested him. Go figure.
Yeah, how about that?
I guess he reamed out enough. I guess he broke enough bucks that old Tariq called it a favor.
You can only hope. God
Indeed.
bless that man. He's saving in Black America.
Indeed. I mean, just think about all the homeless black men now that are not going to be, drugged up and raped by this guy. So, a win's a win. We'll take it. Yeah, good times. So, I've got I've got a little bit of good news. With all the fentanyl that's going around now, people know how to deal with it. So this was actually just yesterday. There was a training officer.
You know how you deal with it? You don't take it.
Oh, true. But in this case, the officers were, interacting with a individual that was, making use of the fentanyl. So even being close to it, you can catch a lot of shit. Well, my statement was fentanyl is a powerful drug. It can kill a seasoned veteran like Floyd or a rookie deputy like this fella. So you want to avoid that stuff, and you don't want to become a statistic. But I'll have a link to that. But basically, this officer, he was like, "Hey, I know what to do. I've seen people like George Floyd die from overdoses of fentanyl, and I don't want this to happen to this guy." So he did the right thing. Like if in the case of George Floyd,
Go to a hospital.
Yeah. You get him to a hospital right away. If they'd have listened to what he was saying when he was saying he couldn't breathe there in the cab of his car, Maybe we could have avoided all of these burned black businesses. All this minority-owned
Yeah,
business that
no,
was
you
destroyed.
mean that thing that where he was saying he couldn't breathe well before he was on the ground? That weird place?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
moment?
yeah,
That kind of crazy thing where he was standing, then also when he was sitting, that just it's astounding to me that is it's another fucking whatever Brown thing, like just Baltimore
hmm
totally fucked for months. United States now totally fucked for over a year.
yeah, yeah. And on that
Let's just
note,
kind of figure that one out. Chris Brown, right? No, not Chris Brown.
yeah, no, I think you're
God.
right. I believe you're right. Mike Brown, Mike Brown.
I was
Yes.
gonna say the different Brown. I'm pretty sure it's not Chris Brown.
No, yeah,
Although
that's a
that one
musician.
was that was
That's
just that was
another
just
one,
funny
though.
to me.
That's another one in and of itself, actually, too.
Well, that was just someone beating someone up, though.
Oh, true.
A
Oh,
different kind of strong arm robbery.
speaking of beating people up, too, Cuomo has had his head secretary resign as well just recently.
Yeah, how about
So,
that?
yet more, yet more. It's looking real ugly for Herr
Yeah,
Cuomo.
Letitia, what the fuck's her name? Came out and uh, the AG who's been going hard after Trump came out and reluctantly dropped that AG report. Um, basically, a full-on indictment of Cuomo. And the great thing is, it wasn't like there's all these different accusers and here's the hearsay and the complete lack of evidence, but we'll have a hearing anyway. Kind of bullshit they did with Kavanaugh or Trump, or hell, even to an extent, I'll throw the bone out there. Uh, Despite the circumstantial that you see on stage, even Biden, there's a lot of it's just circumstantial and hearsay, not necessarily on par with some of the psychotics that have come out of the loony left with accusations, but like you gotta admit, like not all the evidence is quite there. Against Cuomo, they came out with a fucking ream of receipts on his ass.
Oh yeah, and then the guy's defense is like, "Hey, look, let me put out this video where I'm doing exactly what they're talking about here. Look, see, I don't just do it to women's, I do it to dudes too. I sexually harass everybody over here."
His defense is basically, "I'm not resigning."
Yeah, yeah. His
His
defense is,
defense
"Listen,
was,
fuck you, buddy." That's essentially what Cuomo's saying, and I mean, I gotta respect the game.
his defense was, you know what? I got enough ladies in the country lubed up after they got done reading 50 Shades of Grey with my speeches. I think I'm gonna stick around for a while.
Oh, and as we're since we are still kind of talking about the Olympics on tonight's
Yeah.
show, I would like to give a big congratulations to Taiwan because, as we know, West Taiwan and Taiwan are all one country. So the
Oh yeah.
country of Taiwan has done exceptionally well, coming in second to the
Fantastic.
United States. So bravo! Congratulations, Taiwan. Congratulations, West Taiwan. You've done so very well at these Olympics.
Can you believe that they would not allow West Taiwan to play their own national anthem?
It's
They had to play the generic Olympics anthem like Russia had to because they fucked up.
Yeah, it's just unconscionable. Absolutely
It's
unconscionable.
disturbing, you know.
It's
Oh, and speaking of West Taiwan,
oh yeah.
you hear that they haven't had any virus since the original breakout,
Yeah, no, they pretty
and
well
they
handled
haven't had
that.
any yeah, and that's exactly why they're locking
Handled
down several.
ahem.
That's why they're of course locking down several provinces now, because there was no infection in Beijing late last year. There was no
No.
resurgence of any virus whatsoever.
No, they had a big
Uh,
fat
but
rave
they
in
but
Wuhan, didn't you see it?
but they also need to test all 11 million people in Wuhan again right now because reasons.
Well, it's
Um,
just being safe. Just playing safesies.
oh yeah, and they might also start welding people back in their homes again.
Oh, again, they're just playing it
But
safe,
hey, pour oil, West Taiwan. Let's go.
Yeah.
By the way, pour oil is West Taiwanese for let's go.
Oh, is it? Well,
Yeah,
I've
yeah. So
I've
when
learned
that when you
another
look at the
interesting new fact.
translations, if you look at the translations for the videos out of Wuhan last year, you might hear them. You know, they're all I can't remember the West Taiwanese for it, but you hear them all, and at the bottom it has a little translation. It just says pour oil. That's them hyping each other up, going, let's go, we can do it.
Yay. Well, as they say, work makes you free.
Well, it's
And
let's
those
go sounds
Uyghurs know
weird.
those Uyghurs know a thing or two about hard labor. You know, they've
Well,
got
so
they've got
so
a
what?
lot of work ethic. It's really, I mean, the CCP
Just,
has really instilled in them a very a deathly strong work ethic.
so just from an outside perspective, let's go does sound weird to foreigners. It's well, let's go where? Kind of like with internet speak, you say based, people will say, well, based on what?
Indeed.
So, when they say pour oil, is well, why? That's them saying let's go.
Fair enough.
So there you go.
So there's another little bit of troublesome news out of all
Oh
of
boy.
America. Got this one from Dr. Drew. I don't know if I dropped you a link to this, but he made a really wily comment. Let me just put it in staff chat here.
Uh-huh. I think I might have. Yeah, let's see.
Well,
Blah 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 blah. Yeah, I saw
roughly a
that. I saw.
quarter of the black community of America, slightly more, have received any sort of COVID vaccine, and with states running up these vaccine mandates and these vaccine passports, I mean, that sounds like a
So the
pretty
data.
pretty straight up
Here's what I have on hand, and
segregation,
this is this says as of August 2nd. This says as much as 38% of Black Americans. But it doesn't matter either way on that figure. They're the lowest out of the different ethnicities being tracked. And I have no idea how good KFF is as a surveillance prepper, surveillance tracker rather.
sure.
So surveillance in this case meaning uh, observation of a preponderance of data, not necessarily like surveilling on people. But
Yeah, not spy stuff.
yeah, this is nothing to do with that.
Number
So
crunching, as it were.
yes. So surveillance being reported data at the at vaccination sites. The same with viral surveillance is getting serology and gene sequencing data. So the demographics um, from this resource suggests that about 2/5 of Black Americans
Firmly less
are
than half.
vaccinated.
Very
But
firmly less than half.
this has received at least one dose of vaccine, and this doesn't tell you whether or not it's mRNA, which requires two doses, or the Janssen vac, which requires just the one. And then remember, to the individual, there isn't a price difference on this. It's all free, so it's down to personal choice as to whether or not they want to get a one and done or go through the two of them.
Well, and
But at
in
least
addition
one dose
to, you
about
have to
40%.
consider the superstition of that community as a whole, and with all the kind of
So
poo-pooing
he's
that's been
saying,
done on the Janssen vax, I can imagine that the adoption there
so
is
Dr.
actually
Drew
lower.
here, Dr. Drew here is saying, have received the COVID vaccine, just blanket statement, for
Sure.
about a third. That's not totally out of the realm of possibility for lining up with the numbers, just between these two different resources here.
Sure.
But yeah, like he's right on the money here. As I was saying, with New York City starting in with this shit, it's guaranteed California's going to do it, and then they'll be like dominoes with other blue states. And
But I
remember,
mean,
when they
this.
say vaccine passport, they mean certification, not passport, because a vaccine passport is not a passport until my front door is a port of entry to a country.
You mean to
We
tell me
went
you're
through that
not a
little
free man
rigmarole
on the
before.
land?
Right. Oh my God, yes, I'm a sovereign citizen by the Articles of Confederation, article whatever the blah 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 blah, right?
That's
Those
right.
people need to be just surrounded by a TV crew 24/7 for the amount of entertainment they provide.
The sad
Like
thing
I would be
is,
happy with that. I would be happy with HBO paying their legal bills, if only to watch them sit in court for longer and just cuss out judges.
that would actually be one of the most entertaining television
It's
dramas
just
ever
so good.
created. I mean, if
It's just
somebody
so
would
fucking funny.
actually properly finance a sovereign citizen to actually push these fucking things, because the thing is, a lot of them actually have cogent legal arguments, but no court's going to hear it because it's like, listen, that's bullshit for one, and you're representing
Yeah,
yourself
right.
for two. So if you could get a big name up there, I'd love to see some of this shit actually make it all the way up. It would be
You know who should be the one?
hilarious.
The lawyer who should be retained. That would be the best man for the job, Mark Elias.
Okay,
Because fuck that guy, he needs to be put on blast repeatedly. I just want to see judges yell at him.
fair.
He's such a prick. This is the guy who spent all last year up until the election uh, saying how perfect the machines are. And then as soon as it impacted a Democrat representative, suddenly the machines were fallible again. And that was their whole argument in court for not taking the recount numbers seriously. It's, oh yeah, the machines are fallible, and that hand count, of course. Whoa, I mean, let's not start splitting hairs on which votes actually are supposed to count.
And just a quick update on recounts. Things, from my understanding, have grown very spicy in Arizona. So we have yet to have any of the final numbers compiled, or at least listed for us. But
Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna
that'll
let
be
myself get the half. I'm not
yeah,
letting
yeah.
myself
Don't
get the
let
half
yourself get
mast.
excited. All we've been told is that things are going to get interesting. But
Right now, it's a cracking to me. Like, I'm sorry, but even with the testimony they've given at Senate panels or congressional panels in the state level, we'll say that. Even with the testimony they've given where they've cited numbers, I haven't seen any fucking evidence.
well, if we're
None.
going to be honest,
Zero. Zilch.
Maricopa County and Dominion have refused to turn over the latest round of
Well,
evidence.
yes,
So
but they supposedly have enough evidence to make the claims they made at the hearings. Like, if that is true, and they have the evidence to make those claims with some degree of certainty, I have seen no evidence to suggest that those numbers are actually true yet. I believe that they believe they're true, and that their report will reflect the evidence suggesting that they're true. But until that's published, it may as well be funny. Like, it's like paying your taxes and monopoly money. Show me the actual bills or get out of the way.
well, when when
It's
it
just
drops,
so
it'll be
fucking
interesting to
tiresome, you
see.
know.
Well, the whole fucking thing's tiresome. We had a
Well,
coward in
it's
chief that
because
was
they
afraid to
are
actually follow through.
they're sitting there, they're stringing this shit out. I understand the Maricopa County part, but like they're also stringing stuff out. This has to be delayed long enough to get into 2022, so that they can use it as a basis to campaign on. That I guarantee you, that's the way that the party's pushing it. They're telling them to wait. I guarantee you, that's what's happening. They're saying, "Oh yeah, we'll give you all the time in the world, make absolutely sure everything's correct. Oh, and hey, could you like just double check that one more time? Yeah, we don't need it for another week. Just shit or get off the pot, you know? Like it'll still be there next year. The country doesn't have the goldfish memory that the MSM does.
And that's true.
Like
As much as they might want
just
to think they do, and as much as they play it off like they do.
Republicans need to stop being such pussies. Don't treat your electorate like they're so stupid. That's a Democrat strategy, and you can see how wonderful that works out.
Yeah.
You know, everybody who's bitching at the pump these days totally saw it coming last year, definitely. But oh, I was suckered. No, you weren't. You were an asshole. Like, it's just creating that low expectation for people creates dumb voters.
No, that's true.
So have that. To quote what they said about the reason the Obama event was so sterile, have that sophistication expectation among your audience. Your electorate is a lot smarter than that. People might be stupid in groups, and the individuals may be smart, but your electorate's got to be smart enough to remember shit more than 2 weeks ago.
True.
I mean, for fuck's sake, we have the internet.
That we do,
If
and we
people
have the
really,
Wayback Machine.
people can fucking Google this shit, you know? They can go on DuckDuckGo. They can, for help. They can go to Dogpile if that still exists.
I kind of doubt it, but
God,
yeah, yeah,
God, that's a throwback.
indeed.
I don't know which search engine to use. I'll use all of them. I loved that as a concept. It was great.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of webcrawler.com.
Oh man. Yeah, so it's ridiculous. Just like, come on, make it snappy. Let's get that report out. Let's see it.
Yeah.
The only way you're gonna fix it for the midterms, the only way you're gonna be able to pass because you're gonna have pushback, regardless of what you do. The only way to get that shit fixed to hunker down, secure the election, get rid of the whatever fraud may or may not have been existing, get rid of all the malfeasance and incompetence that was present. The only way to do that is to know what it looks like, to have the time to, digest that information, come up with legislation that will solve it, not just cover it up or look good, but actually solve it, and then pass it before the machine gets in motion again next year. And you're not going to be able to do that if you just keep pussyfooting.
Yeah, they really do need to get this out. And the thing about it is, getting it out, we're
the
far enough along
be,
now, I would say,
yeah.
that getting it out isn't going to be detrimental to those further campaigns. Like you're
here's
far
the thing,
enough out that you can keep running on it.
The goal should not be 2024 for fixing this stuff. That's
the goal should have been 2018 for fixing the stuff.
Yes, and more importantly, right now
Cough,
the goal
cough.
should be 2022. The goal needs to be 2022.
Well, the goal needs to be before the end of 2021, if we're being entirely honest.
Well, as far as the election cycle is going on, you need to get this shit ready for the 2022 election cycle.
Oh, it has to be in place and ready to go. Not just ready. It has to have been established.
Right. This stuff, you should have legislation ready to go, by the end of next month. The report is supposed to come out, what was it? It was 3 weeks from that Razor Fist video, which puts it, a week out or so? I don't remember when that came out. A week or two out. Oh yeah, we're going to have to just cover that next time. All right, so there are just shy of 4,000 pages. And so you just popped, just for people who are listening, Evan just popped a link to.
Oh yeah, this will be something we'll need to go over in more depth, but I just kind of wanted to touch on it real quick.
Quick preview. So the IPCC Assessment Report 6 on climate change, Working Group 1 report, the kind of the preprint, if you will. It's still subject to final copy editing, but it's basically content completed. It's available from the IPCC. It's probably going to take a year or two to actually get into publication if it ever gets physical hard copy published. There's 4,000 pages to that Working Group 1 AR6. It's nobody who's reading it now. I don't know. Steve just chimed in and chat. Tell him that's next week. Let's see if maybe he'll get his fucking computer fixed by then. No one who's saying anything on it has had any time to go through anything more than the executive summary at the beginning, the summary for policymakers, or maybe the technical summary, which is slightly longer but not terribly complicated. But again, there's 4,000 pages. Anybody who's claiming to say anything in depth about the report for probably a solid several weeks is not being honest. I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna probably be able to get through several of the key chapters that I care about, and maybe the two summaries, the policymaker and the technical summaries at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 4,000 pages. There's just so much to that. It's going to take a while to digest that much information. I mean, I'm not spending all day every day on it either. I'm going to be able to spend a couple hours on it. Maybe
oh no, that shit's going to be draining. I can imagine.
I'll maybe get 5 to 10 hours by the next episode. Yeah. That'll be able to sink into it.
No rush at all, because the long and short is we're all doomed, and everything has already
Right?
happened. And there's nothing we can do
Yeah.
about any of it anyway, so we might
You're
as well
calling it
just go
a
ahead and
code
press
red.
down on the gas.
And the funny thing is, I saw Al Gore. I saw Al Gore tweeting about that earlier. Like, he had a fucking thread, and the one person who needs to like definitely take a fucking seat in this conversation and just shut the fuck up is Al Gore. And that guy, like,
And not a seat on
the
his private jet. He
the
does
most
that enough.
inconvenient truth about the movie that he made is that it's still around anytime anybody wants to assess his credibility, and that's a very inconvenient truth for him. Like, he said in 2008 or whatever. No, he said 2015, whatever the fuck it was. He said in the not too distant past that like Florida like so that the by 2020 the ice caps will be gone. Unfortunately, there's an inconvenient truth for them. They're still here.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
But
like
I
he
mean
said that
we
by
can
2010 by
offer our
2010.
respects for New York City. I mean, I'm sure you remember the day
Oh,
that it was swallowed up by the
remember
waves.
by
You remember?
2010, like Florida and New York are supposed to be gone by like 2010.
Well, yeah. I mean,
It
you're
just
broadcasting to
20
me from
20
the
meters. Or
undersea nation of Florida, right? You guys built domes, didn't you?
the ocean was supposed to rise 20 feet.
Yeah, you guys built
Now,
domes, like 30-foot
while he
domes,
while he
so that it
didn't
wouldn't happen, right?
he didn't give a clear specification for the time frame of that in his movie. But
Oh,
if we're talking about the next 100 years, no climatologist has come up with a conceivable scenario where there would be 20 feet of sea level rise in 100 years from his movie. Like, this isn't like this wasn't me talking. This is like was several different science outlets that were posting this kind of pushback on him in 2008. 2008 and 2009, just like, yeah, there's no fucking way his claims are going to happen. Um, in the worst scenarios, like, they're just not going to happen. And then lo and behold, year after year, we see none of the shit he said was going to happen has happened yet. And there's a reason for that. It's because it was all bullshit. Like, the guy, like, it doesn't matter if you're pro or against like the idea of anthropogenic influence on climate change, anthropogenic climate change or anthropogenic global warming. It's there's no way any of the shit that he said is gonna happen. Like, everybody knows it.
yeah, no, it's fear mongering at best.
Yeah, it was him making a fuck like, and the guy's still consuming at least 3 times the resources as the average American.
I mean, he probably consumes at least as much in carbon
It,
as one whole man bear pig.
his home at the time of that movie consumed 20 times the electricity of the average American home. 20 times. His answer to that, by the way, was, we're installing some solar panels. It had trees around it. His home has trees around. Like, you don't get sun through the fucking shade, man. Like, it's certainly not enough to cover 20 fucking times. Like, and he flies private jets, etc., etc., etc. The moment that he actually says, "All right, guys, it's time to calm down on this," and then actually cuts back on his resource usage, that's the time I'll be worried. Like, the moment he starts actually scaling himself down is when it actually matters. Tell
Oh,
him to look at my Twitter feed.
like,
Tell Steve to look at my Twitter feed. I posted links. I I can't fucking remember. I think it's report.ipcc.ch. Let me just.
well, anyway, yeah, I told him to look there, but yeah, it's like
There we go.
if
Yeah.
you're John Kerry and you've got a birthday party to attend in the Hamptons, for instance, not like something like that would have
There's a
happened
link
over the
for you to
weekend.
put in the a link for the show
Oh
links.
yeah. I'll put that in the show links for if anybody wants to get started in on this.
And
Because
great
it's
that they use
4,000 fucking pages.
great that they have the China domain there, huh? Nice .ch there,
Ah,
UN
lovely. Mm.
thing.
Mwah. Chef's kiss.
Actually, I'll be interested to run their climate models. I bet you they publish the next set out either the 6th or 7th generation, hopefully.
Oh my goodness. 2.7 degrees within the next 89 years? Oh,
Look, we only
79
had
years.
18. We only had 18 months, and now before that deadline, we fucked it up. Because reasons, big ones. Even with the biggest slump in economic turnover in the world uh, since fucking World Wars. Uh, since the fucking pandemic between the two, we've somehow managed to fuck things up with that giant slowdown in economic activity and thus um, energy activity.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
it's weird how that works, isn't it?
Like they accidentally got their reduction, and the entire world got to feel what that feels like.
Yeah, yeah. And it didn't exactly play out quite as planned either. Big surprise there. This all kind of happens, I guess. Nature of the world of today, I guess, would be the
Yep.
best way of putting it. So, yeah, part of that was glacier national parks. They would have no glaciers. As a
Yeah, how
matter
about
of
that?
fact, oh, have they? Oh, they are. They finally are. Okay, so as of this year, you could go to Glacier National Parks and read
Oh
a
yeah, that's great.
sign
Yeah.
that, I am absolutely going to have a link to that here for everybody to check out. The picture is from 2017, but these actually were here up until at least early this year. That
Yes.
stated, and I'm just going to read it from the post, from the thing that you can read on the sign there. Goodbye to the glaciers. The the small alpine glaciers present today started forming about 7,000 years ago and reached their maximum in size and number around 1850 at the end of the Little Ice Age. They are now rapidly shrinking due to human-caused climate change. Computer models indicate these glaciers will be all gone by the year 2020.
Yep.
And that was actually still there up until just recently. So, yeah, that's kind of where we are. That's kind of how things work these days. So yeah, I would say that I miss New York City because it got swallowed up by the waves. Do I really miss New York City? Come on. Well,
How do you line colorization? Oh great, he's looking at it on his fucking phone.
oh yeah, looking at a government report on your phone, that's a horrible idea.
That's gonna be fucking fantastic.
Oh, undoubtedly.
It's
So,
fucking. It's 4,000 page. Like just. I like how they have like a cover. Like it's get like just. I want to see like this is just working. It used to be that like you had working groups 1, 2, and 3, and you could get 3 different books. Like this one report is gonna be a little mini encyclopedia volume set. Like just 4,000 pages.
oh yeah, no, that's pretty patently ridiculous.
Like, I don't know how they're gonna copy edit that. Like it might be edited down so that it's like not it's more compact. I'm not sure how they're gonna go about it yet.
Now, here's something that I don't know if I've seen personally a little bit of reporting on this, but not a lot. I've got it in the show ideas. I linked it up about 4 days ago on Fauci and spending about 500 odd $1,000 on torturing beagles.
Mhm. So animal research is done, and we should acknowledge that that's just a thing.
Sure.
I don't like that.
Vivisection is a
Yeah,
thing.
I don't like that it has to happen necessarily, but I'd rather that it happens on dogs at that stage than on humans. But that said, the research does have to have a purpose.
Sure.
So let's hear it.
Um,
It was some kind of fly or something, right?
well,
Or
it's about
parasite,
a drug.
rather.
So
Right.
I
It's a
don't
drug that it was an anti-parasite drug, though, right?
The article I've got out of the Federalist is not. It doesn't go into a lot of depth on it. It was an investigation into a drug. I
Yeah.
I'd tell you more, but there just isn't a lot more data here. I will, however, link to. Oh, okay. The White Coast Weight Project. They'll actually have all the data on this. Let me put that instead of the Federalist one because it's just going to be better. It's the Federalist, as much as they might be good, it's a worthwhile to go somewhere that's actually going to tear into this stuff. All right, so completely unnecessary. So it was on a drug that's already been extensively tested and confirmed.
Okay.
So this was further confirmation, I guess. I don't know. I'm not in a position to put it, but I'll link to the White Coast Waste Project. They actually have all the data and the complete breakdown of it. So if anybody wants to look into it a little bit more, I've heard some of the bits and pieces of it, and I'm kind of not going to sully my own airwaves with it because it's fucking ghastly. And
yeah.
like I don't get it on beagles like rhesus, macaque,
Well,
rat.
it's got to have something. There's got to be something about it as an animal model, and it's probably that beagles have something to do with similarity and some part of their immune function if it's a parasite thing. But usually when you go to an animal model like that, it's because the part of the animal model that functions similar to the way humans work is of interest, and it's difficult to find it effectively in a cheaper animal model, say a smaller one like a rat. So um, there'd have to be a justification along those lines.
I would certainly hope so.
And I mean, beagles are smaller dogs, so if you're just talking about dogs in general, yeah, there's a difference between a lot of breeds, but like at the same time, they're all technically the same species. So, um, there's arguments to be made that the small, if a Pomeranian would have done, I would have been happier with that because those are fucking annoying dogs. Uh,
Fair. I mean, I'm not even a dog person, so I'm not really the person to be commenting
I
on the
am a
whole thing.
dog person, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not happy that like animal research like that has to be done, but at the same time, it's not being done on a human. Um, But again, there has to be a point to it. It has like, in my view, if you're gonna do something like that, it's like hunting. You kill to eat. You don't like you eat.
Yeah,
You
trophy
kill
hunting
and eat
is
to
kind of
live.
shitty. So
Well,
yeah,
so trophy hunting in like say Africa has a reason, and that's to fund the preserves that keep animals alive. But if you're just out
absolutely,
there
absolutely.
shooting shit, if you're instead of like eat to live, not live to eat. So if you're out there living to kill a bunch of animals just to do it. Like that's absurd. Like it's the same. I would put that in the same category here. If you're just doing research for research's sake, with no expectation for like an increase in the knowledge base, uh, then that's pretty disturbing shit. That's just torturing animals. If you're doing it to potentially save human lives and there's a real purpose behind it, kill every beagle in order to save like one street junkie. Our species comes first.
Well, maybe
You know,
not every beagle, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
right? Just if you had to pick an absolutist stance on it, that is the extreme you have to go to. And I love dogs. Like I had a couple dogs growing up. Um, fucking, had always had a dog somewhere in the family um, that you could go, pet and play with. It's like I've grown up with dogs. We had house cats. Well, the one cat was not a house cat; he was an outdoor cat, definitely. But you know, he came by with the dead bird heads and enjoyed some time inside on occasion. So there has to be a point. Like if there's no point to it, it's just torturing animals. It's no different than collecting all the frogs just to squish them. Um, that's little boy things. That's not like that's little kid things. It's not science at that point. So there better have been a damn good reason to do it. And I'm sure that if an ethics board was involved, then there was. But at the same time, I'd be curious to find out what exactly the fuck it was that couldn't be done on a different animal model. Like why beagles is a good question.
No, it truly is.
And that
And I mean,
that
also
would
we're
that would be
looking at
something that was
something
justified.
fairly established too, which is something
Right. Well,
noted in there.
it could be a different use. It could be a different dosing. It could be a different a change in the disease.
Okay.
For instance, we have to do new vaccines every. We have to do new rounds of testing for every new vaccine for even just the flu. Let alone say with COVID and shit. Like it's a new round of vaccines is easily a quick thing, or a new round of drugs that could be used, or a new use case, a new formulation. All these things will originally have to derive some sort of intermediate step between in vitro and human testing, and that is animal testing,
Yeah. Well, I
generally
mean, it got
speaking.
us. It's gotten us pretty far, and a lot of lives have been saved. So
Yeah, well, insulin is the poster child case. Like it is the case for animal testing and animal studies. Like without animal products, insulin would not happen. Every diabetic in the country is alive because of animal testing and basically animal derived manufacturing to a degree.
or for that matter, up until fairly recently, most testosterone was going to be bovine uh,
Yeah.
derived.
If you went through significant dialysis, you probably got a bovine graft. That's a cow neck artery that's been put into your arm so that they can stab the large needles in and out repeatedly without damaging your own blood vessels much.
Or for that matter, there's actually some there are joint
Or
surgeries
of
that are
course,
done now that use uh, treated porcine ligaments
yep,
that
porcine
actually that
ligaments.
do very very well. As a matter of fact, you can finally treat tennis elbow. You can actually cure tennis elbow with surgery now.
Yeah, and porcine grafts are also a thing for venous grafts. So the same thing with the bovine graft. You can also do a porcine graft. Um, animals are basically, the animals that we keep under our care are also ours to shepherd and guard. So it is to our credit generally that we are as compassionate to animals as we are as a society in the U.S. But at the same time, there is always going to be the need for oversight and for checking back on things. And so again, why beagles is a good question. Was
Sure.
the study necessary? Also a good question. I don't know, but again, also, ethics boards are usually involved for specifically this purpose, that the researcher must prove to an ethics board that it is not only like a reasonable ethical concern to use the animals, but also a necessity. Like if a different animal model is not possible, or a different animal model is possible, it should be used.
Oh, and for
So there's that.
complete clarity, I've got the information on that. It's a preclinical model on infectious diseases using a C12 lymphatic filariasis vaccine, LF Guard, in an efficacy trial that ran up until just the end of July, from September of last year to just the end of July of this year, at a total cost of $424,455. For complete clarity there.
Sure.
And if there's more that comes out, I'll try and link that. But there isn't really. There's not a lot of data right now, so we're just going off of the few things that get kind of leaked to us. But I'll actually put a link to the USA
I'm sure
spending
that's got to
thing.
be in a database somewhere.
Yeah. Well, more's going to come out on this because people kind of hate Fauci these days, and if they can, make dog lovers hate him more, hey, go for it. Fauci's a pretty
Well,
hateable fuck these days. I mean, he already was,
on
but
that
all the more.
on that note, donate to your local ASPCA and fuck PETA.
Absolutely,
Not
PETA
and
murders
not the
so
national.
many pets They're a vile
and
organization.
and not the national ASPCA, your local ASPCA.
And also, find out if you have any local no-kill shelters, and you're going to have papers. Either you're going to get them in the mail, or maybe you're subscribed to the paper. Save your papers and take them to your local no-kill shelters, because they need those sort of little things. Because every one of those shelters is run off of people's
Oh
backs.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
very few states that cover no-kill shelters. And for their credit, for their fucking credit, I will say this about California. Almost entirely the state is a no-kill shelter state, and they do aid those shelters, which, Godspeed, you decent folks.
Yeah.
I
No,
wholeheartedly
it's
support no-kill shelters. They're a fine thing,
but again, like sometimes. So I'll say this,
but support your local shelters.
and
And if
I
you
hope
know
that it like
anyone that
falls
has
under it.
gotten a fucking animal during this awful
Oh yeah.
fucking bullshit, and they're even considering dropping that off somewhere, taking it to their local shelter, tell them that what they're doing is wrong and that they have a life to concern themselves with and to do the right thing and take care of it.
Yeah.
Because you
That
have
thing
a
about
friend.
shepherding our
Yeah, be a
yeah
good
that thing about
goddamn steward.
that thing about shepherding those under our care. That's doubly important when you take an animal into your home.
Yeah, I mean, you
It's
you
incredibly
signed
important.
on as a part of this creature's life, and this creature has signed on to be a part of yours. You might as well go ahead and enjoy the benefits and not be a piece of shit.
Like you had to know what you're going to get into on the way in. Not everybody does, and I understand that. Um, but you've got to have that understanding there. Like especially if you get a young animal, they imprint on you. Like you're the alpha. You know, that's what it becomes. You're
Yeah,
the
it's like
alpha in the
that.
pack.
That's my person. I know that person. That's my
Even
person.
even a even a fucking cat, which is an animal that gives the least amount of shit about you. Like a cats will eat you when you die. Like they just don't care. But even a cat will imprint on you if you get it young. You're the master of the food, basically. Like
There's actually a
they
lot
come to
more
you for food.
to cat
I know there's
relationships,
more,
and that
but
has
like
actually come out
I'm
in
just
studies.
saying,
But yeah, that's for another time.
just saying, like in general, animals imprint on you. You need to take care of them when you get them. Even a fucking like little turtle, you know, like the turtles that get like to the size of a silver dollar and stop growing. Like even those imprint on you to a degree. Like you're the one that's responsible for their care. You know, you take care of their home, you feed them, etc. Their life is under your control. If you want to cede that control, the worst thing you can do is just put it outside. So
Yeah, if you're gonna
damn
do
well don't do
this,
that.
if you're fucking dead set on getting rid of this animal that you have personally taken on the responsibility for, if you must shirk off that responsibility, then you need to find someone willing to shoulder it. Don't just
And
throw
look,
that animal away. Find them a new home because that is the
go on
least you can
Craigslist. You
do.
know, go on Craigslist and wait it out for a month if you can. Like if you have to, a no-kill shelter, absolutely. Now, the one thing I have to say about no-kill shelters is, and I know that in general, there are those that allow euthanasia, but like the no-kill basis is on adoption, not on health. But like, there are those that just kind of turf off the hopeless cases to vets and hope that they have the money to put them down appropriately, which is in my opinion, not good enough. So euthanasia does have to happen sometimes. It should never be because the animal just hasn't been adopted yet.
No.
Like if it has to be like if the animal is suffering in life and it has and you have to call it, that's a thing. But like if it's because the animal just isn't pretty enough to get picked up by whoever, Like if you haven't watched the YouTube channel Vet Ranch, run by the same guy who does the gun channel. Well, actually, it's his practice and a couple of his other
Yeah, it's his
colleagues have
veterinary
taken
works.
over the channel. Uh, Vet Ranch is a fantastic, is just example after example after example of how rehabilitating an animal that even like just it looks like it's on the brink. You can give them a home. They can come back and be perfectly happy and functional if you give them a chance and you put in the work to make them happen. So like, and I would say this: if you're struggling with with money and so on, you really can't take care of an animal, and it's worse for you to have it in your life, and there's no way around it. I get it. But like, if you just got it as a comfort for the pandemic, and then you're just offloading it because you can, that's disgusting.
And if you've found yourself in the situation where you really can't, maybe just take a quick look. Do a quick hop onto Google and search your local area for programs for people with your exact issue, because there are programs that can provide for you that might actually cover some of your
This is
needs
also
for that
true.
pet. So,
And
you might have to jump through a hoop or two, but, maybe you can make something work. And it's
and
worth
again,
trying.
if you have the time, like your situation isn't urgent, just a month on Craigslist, if you can, just to try and just to give a chance that someone else will be there to take him in. Have all the vet stuff up to date and so on, and that'll make it like people will jump on that if especially if it's an animal that's commonly kept as a pet. A dog and a cat, you'll probably find somebody. Um, probably not for like some exotic pet, but I can't exactly imagine why you get an exotic pet for a pandemic.
Yeah, I mean,
Whatever.
yeah, despite what old David Chipman might say, yeah, there's not a bunch of Tiger Kings out here. Always love tying it back in. That's always good.
Okay, so I guess it's about quarter past, so
Yeah, I know
it's
you're on the clock,
time for
so
my
I don't want to
carriage.
keep you too
Time for
much
my
longer.
carriage. Time for my carriage to turn into a pumpkin.
I got you, and I know you were probably wanting to talk to your lady friend, so I will
Oh,
be.
so we did actually we were able to have a chat before I showed up on the show.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, all good.
Oh, excellent.
It's time for her to basically tell my ass to go to bed. So
Fair
my
enough.
body will actually listen. It's the most fucked up thing. My body listens to her and it doesn't listen to me. Hasn't listened to me my entire life. I'm like, go to bed. No, staying up, man. And then she comes along and says, go to bed. My body says, yeah, fuck you. We're going to bed.
Well, you know what they say. It's always good to seek a second opinion. So, hey, there you go.
I'm calling that love.
Hey, it works, right?
We'll see.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Well, I've got one or two more things I'll go over real quick, but
all
so
right.
that everybody knows, they can find you on definitely on Twitter and Minds at
Yeah.
CraigBob99. Anywhere else they should look for you?
So actually, I think I've got a link tree I've thrown together. Let me blah blah blah. Let me pull that crap up. And I'm trying to put my stuff on there. So there's that.
Okay. Well,
So yeah, if you go to the link, CraigBob99 on Linktree, and you should be able to find
I'll put that in the show
uh,
links
me in
so that
most
if you want
places.
to find him anywhere, as said before, I would bother with Steve's stuff, but I mean, he really just kind of doesn't fuck with social media anymore.
I kind of want to throw him on. Like, I want to find a way to post his links on Linktree too, just to fuck with him. But, like
That
at a place where he actually looks.
that would be kind of funny.
So, where are all these people coming from? God damn it, Craig.
Uh, I mean, it's not quite on
Anyway,
par with ordering pizzas, but
no, but it would be funny.
All right, so well, you have a good evening, and well, we'll
All
talk
right.
in the meanwhile, one way or the other, and all goes well. We'll be back in a week.
Yep. See you guys.
Night. All right. So, just me. And we've got a little bit more actually, we've got a lot more we could go over, but we're going to keep it, relatively tame. There's not a lot more that I really wanted to get in for this particular week. I am going to have a link to a tweet from Elijah Schaefer from a doctor out of the Mount Vernon area who basically just broke it all down for their school board and, their... I know it was their school board. I don't know who all else was there at the time. Basically just saying, here's what we know, here's the facts, and we're not acting in these facts. And on those same facts, I'm going to include a link to something that just came up on Disclose. We'll want to go over this one again when we get some time, because it really kind of falls into the whole climate change discussion. But as we look back over longer than just the current human era, we see climate fluctuations and cycles, really, if you will. And it looks like we're at about the peak of one of those cycles. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I'll have the link for that for anyone that wants to check it out as well. And I'm Evan, at That Fake Guy Dan, everywhere except Facebook, because not a big fan of cyborg lizards. So look me up everywhere. I've also got a radio show Tuesdays, 7 p.m., aerithradio.co.uk. As a matter of fact, I will include a link for that. If you want to check the show, took a few weeks off while the boss was out of town and the server was getting reset. That happens. What you going to do? But we are back up and live these days. There we go. And, of course, that'll be live tomorrow night, 7 to 10 Eastern, midnight Greenwich Mean Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. Synthwave, retro, EDM, IDM. Not so much of that, really. Mostly synthwave, retro, a little bit of dark wave, and, of course, a little bit of vaporwave, because it's good. And we all need a bit of a break from this soul-crushing, crazy world that was stolen from us. So, be safe, be well, give all of us a follow, and if you've got any ideas, comments, or anything that you'd like for us to discuss on the podcast here, hit me up, hit Craig up, hit up the Telegram. We actually have an official group. The link will be down in the description. And of course, subscribe and follow and stick around. We're not going anywhere. And with that, bid you all adieu. Talk to you again soon. Stay safe, keep your powder dry, and for real though, stay safe. People are being tortured just for showing up to the January 6th shit. One of them is now being released because of such egregious treatments. So let's hope that particular trend continues. Talk to you soon.